So a pretty crazy windstorm rolled through yesterday afternoon and kind of took a toll on my tomato plants. It's a little disheartening. You do all this work all season long. You're pruning, you're staking, you're watering, you're fertilizing, and all it takes is one windstorm to almost break your tomato plant in half. Even my beautiful golden redwood is kind of split. It's got this funky shape to it now. The limb kind of fell down from the high winds. I thought this tree was going to break in half. My poor firelight hydrangea took a hit as well. Ugh. This was definitely not your average thunderstorm. There was high winds. It blew this tomato completely over. This is another Brandywine I have. And it actually broke my wooden stake in half and blew the top of it in the dirt. And you can see up here all the mud and stuff that's on the leaves. This is definitely probably going to cause a fungus down the road. Now, to be completely transparent, I let a few of my indeterminate tomatoes grow past the 6-foot stake that they were staked on. This is something you definitely want to consider when you're planting indeterminate tomatoes. We're late in the season. The Brandywine's probably, 7 feet tall, and I used 6-foot oak stakes. And late in the season, they're just not tall enough. So at the time of the storm, my tomato had grown past the top of the oak stake, and the high winds just kind of blew it over the top, and the tomato bent in half because it didn't have enough support. You can see here where this is where the tomato plant bent in half. It's very tall, and it was just growing past the top of this stake. Didn't have any support up here. But I think I can fix it is the good news. What I'm going to do is fasten another 6-foot stake on the top of this one by drilling 2 pilot holes so this stake doesn't split. I'm going to fasten it with 2 screws here, and I should have enough height to stake the rest of this tomato plant up to it. The new stake is secured. Now let's get our twine and stake up the rest of the tomato. Okay, so I got my Brandywine staked back up all the way up the new stake, so it's got several feet of room to keep growing. Unfortunately, there are many more tomatoes in the garden that have grown past their stake, so I've got to do much more of this along with pruning. Rain and thunderstorms are great, but the downside is all the moisture in the air and humidity really ignites those fungus spores, and you really got to be careful about not getting blight. I've mentioned it in plenty of other videos prior to this one, but pruning your tomatoes will help combat blight. And if you want to spray something, a copper fungicide will do the trick as well. There's also some homemade remedies you can look up and apply to your tomatoes, but I find that pruning is by far the most important thing you can do. Hey, I really hope this video gave you some insight on what to do once your tomatoes grow past your stakes or cages, and maybe just give you some encouragement. Hey, storms happen. It's going to happen to your garden eventually, and you just got to stay encouraged and pick up the pieces. Also, don't forget to hit that like button, and until next time, become a plant person.